I never thought I would do so many videos about one game on my channel, and in thinking about why that is, and here's yet another one, I realized that D100 Dungeon offers the possibility for thinking about game design and gameplay and game experience in a way that brings to the front a lot of the things I talk about on the channel, in across the channel really, in the solo RPG stuff that I present and in the fantasy adventure games that I present, things that are just key to my enjoyment of gameplay. And what this video is going to be here is I'm going to play the game again because I got the Lost Tome of Extraordinary Rules and I did a flip through of that. That's my most recent D100 Dungeon video. And as such, whenever I get new content for this game, Martin Knight just sucks me back into playing it. And I wasn't planning on playing the game. I have another game up. I'm not even filming in my normal place because I have another game up that I'm in the middle of. But nevertheless, there's something about the promise of gameplay, the promise of exploration, adventure, of building a character, of identifying with a character, and really experiencing what that character experiences, that D100 Dungeon just hits all the right notes for me in that regard. And possibly it's because you're dealing with a single character. Possibly it's the way that he is developing the game, as I talked about a little bit in the video on this, developing it almost from the inside out, giving the character more to do, giving more investments in the environment for the character and more abilities, as we'll look at here when we go through everything and I tell you what new rules I'm going to be using for this playthrough, as opposed to content necessarily expanding out the world. While there are in the, for example, the Dragon Armor is a book that does expand out in a kind of story way, and there's also a campaign in the Adventurer's Companion. These books also come at the beginning with some new rules, and while format-wise, I think it's not necessarily the easiest thing for a player to have new rules spread out across different types of offerings, like a different gameplay. I think it does speak to the way the designer is envisioning this game as a living, breathing thing that continues to grow from within. So what I'm going to do here in this first part of the video is just go through, these are the 4 books of content that I have. I'm going to go through them, talk about them a little bit, talk about what I'm going to bring into my character and how I'm going to start my character for the adventure that I'm going to have, and then of course we'll do some gameplay. So going back to just the basic rules here, obviously I will be using the basic rules. One of my viewers pointed out to me that there is a fan-made encounter table that I printed out that will give a little bit more variety to the roles that you get for the monsters here. You can see the roles here differentiated, so you're not just going back and rolling on the same few monsters if you have a big encounter modifier. Now, I'm not sure, actually. I am sure. I'm not going to be starting out and building a character with the training quests. We'll talk about that when we get to how I'm going to build the character. But nevertheless, the range here, 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 25, this is obviously a smaller range, so it's going to provide more differentiation. So I think I may try to roll on this table. I'm, again, not being sure yet what type of quest I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to check this out. Even if you use the basic encounter table, one of the great things in this Tome of Extraordinary Rules that I talked about in that last video is the combat experience rule now, which seems to me pretty essential. And in short, what this means is that as you continue to encounter monsters repeatedly, you will be gaining experience with them, and the experience that you gain will allow you ultimately to ignore certain of their specific skills. So for example, those of us that have played this game kind of as it were, you know, ABC or 1, 2, 3 going through the training, we've encountered a ton of giant rats. Well, after a while you get to ignore their disease result, and after even longer you get to even ignore their pack bonus. This to me makes thematic sense and also just takes away a little bit of the repetitiveness or length or boredom. I don't want to say that's a pretty strong word of the combat. Sometimes the combat can feel a little bit repetitive in this game. So that is, I think I'll probably be using this, just getting back to the basic rules here, and obviously we'll just be using the basic rules. In terms of add-ons, and I'm not sure I'm looking at this in the order of release, I may be, I can't remember. There is this new monster table here, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to be using that or not. I'll probably use whatever is on that fan-made thing because I want to see how that goes. The hero path, I'm going to build my hero quickly, and I'm going to use this quick adventurer build. I think it's designed to be done randomly, so with a d100 and a d6 roll, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just decide, and I'll decide right now. I think I want to play a druid, and I think I want to play probably a druid elf, I would say. An elf druid, druid elf, whatever you call it. And I'm doing this because I also want to embark upon this magical training, choosing an order of magic that comes from the new rule set as well, trying to train in it and then developing those rules. And so as such, I think I need to be obviously a magic user, and I could have available to me Elements, Illusion, Psyche, or Summoning. So this is what I'm feeling here, the Druid Elf, and then along with this hero path, you have the quick equipment, which addresses one of the issues I had with my very first game. And if you watched religiously all my D100 dungeon videos, you know that I started out my very first adventure, poor Thor, Throne Sucker, ended up with I believe it was a sort of a giant axe and no strength to carry it or something like that because of the randomness. And here it was amusing and memorable, but here this is addressed. So what you have are choices. Even if you're doing a random roll to get this material, you have choices of choosing the hand weapons or the ranged weapons based on your values of strength and dexterity. So at least in theory, you're going to end up with equipment that suits the skills that you have developed. And so I will be building an adventurer this way. I'm definitely going to do Witchery and fold that in. I talked about this elsewhere. I love the concept of building things, of crafting things, of having the environment be dynamic in a way that extends to actually what you can do and not just simply, or I should say, what you can add to it, and not simply just something that you can pick up and then use, but something that you can pick up, transform, and then use. I think that is a very underutilized idea in fantasy gaming, oddly, because with all the magic, you would think that there would be more about transformation. But nevertheless, I definitely will be using the Witchery rule. I'm not going to go through and make my own quest. I will probably roll on a quest here, although there are the rules, of course, to do this. I like the death kill flavor here, which is basically allows you to look up. You could, I numbered the chart in case I wanted to just do a random roll, but you can look up and see how you basically bludgeoned or overshot some monster to death, and then there's a little bit flavor text that you get in terms of what happens and a specific benefit you get in terms of the success item or table roll that you're going to do. You're going to get a plus modifier on that if you really, 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 really kill something. So this was I've used this before, and it's a great addition. In the Dragon Armor, again, this is actually more of a choose your own adventure. Definitely one of the new rules, again, new rules for all D100 dungeon games. I would love to see just one PDF that lists all the rules for all the games and not have it spread out only among these books. But some of the new rules here are pretty good, including different ways of opening a door that give some differentiation so they can be locked or jammed, and the way in which you have an attempt to try to break through that, and then the after effect of that, which is making noise. So you have to keep a running total of the number of times you attack a door during a turn. If you keep making a lot of noise, perhaps a monster is going to show up. I love that. It just makes a lot of sense, and it gives a little more variety, so I will be using that. And finally, then we get to this tome, which I just talked about in my other video, and we'll definitely be using the Beast Mastery. This is like almost the whole reason that I am coming back to the game right now, which is I love, love, love the idea of familiars. I always have. Whenever there's a game that gives me a choice of a character with a familiar, I tend to go with that character. It's a great concept for me. And here in this game, you are given the possibility of training some beasts and basically turning them into familiars when you do so. So I will be definitely doing this, and there's a new character sheet that needs to be downloaded if you're going to try to do that, because you have here the beast and the level and the bonus and its hit points and its abilities that's actually the gold points and the hit points that apply to it. So basically what you do is you can roll on, when you're in between quests, you can roll either on this new table here, the Beast Mastery table, to choose your beast that you are going to attempt to train, or if you encounter one of these, you can attempt to tame it. I said train, really tame it, and add it to your adventure sheet. And there's a review of the various abilities that they have and some rules that govern the use of the beast with you. The new find table, I probably will use this just because I've used the old one, so I'll be rolling only exclusively on this new find table here. The artisan rules are also something I'm going to try to bring in, which is the possibility of taking things that you find in the world and building things out of them, kind of akin to Witchery, but this is using salvaged materials and you have like a formula for building things and the items that you can craft out of them. So I'll certainly be bringing this in, again, skipping over investments and definitely using the combat experience that we talked about early on. Also this advanced casting to become, I'll have to decide what type of magic I want to pursue. As a druid, it does kind of seem like I should be pursuing the elemental, but I'll have to have a look and see what the options are. Elements, illusion, psyche, and summoning. Well, psyche's looking pretty good. Psyche's looking pretty good. Maybe I will do that depending on the quest that I do. That one that I looked at earlier, maybe with the undead, that could be interesting. The elements probably won't do that because I'm going to be inside, and if I was doing something wilderness, maybe I would do that. It might feel more interesting and thematic, but as long as I'm building a character, I may as well build a character suited to the type of adventure that I'm having, and it seems that perhaps psyche or maybe summoning is the way to go. So I will decide about that and come back with my adventurer built and starting maybe doing some between quest action, and then give a demo of how the gameplay looks now that there are these 4 books of rules, options, ideas, and concepts for D100 Dungeon. All right, let's take a look at Astromaya Wood. She is a druid elf, and she's been built up using the combination of the fast track in the 2 different books that have it. I wasn't quite sure how to integrate them, so I took my best shot at it. Unfortunately, she ended up with just one spell, which is a summoning spell, in her book, and she's got some awareness, dodge, escape, lucky, magic, and traps. She's got 10 on traps. She is armored a little bit with some plate mail. Can't even read my own handwriting. Plate mail bracers, scale mail gloves. She's got a long sword, which is two-handed, I believe. I didn't indicate that here. And she's got a padded mail belt and something on her legs. She's also carrying a few items, and we'll see she picked up a couple of leather girdles, one of which is pretty badly damaged, and some other items here, a whole bunch of potions, including Potion of Lesser Fate, which will allow her to add 20 to the result when on a table. I don't think she's got enough to buy a spell. She's got a lot of gold here. I don't think she has enough to buy a spell. I should add that up and see, because I feel she needs another spell. I actually can come up with enough to do some magic training here, because I've got some cash. I've got 280 silver pieces, and this is some random item that was I think it was an objective item that I couldn't use, so that was 100 gold. And then I've got this Potion of Lesser Fate for 400. I can basically sell a bunch of this stuff and come up with the cost of training. So I think I will do that and roll on the spells table to get one more spell, and we'll do that here to see what we are able to learn, and I'll have to readjust that sheet. 77, that seems promising. 77 is the spell of invisibility. The adventurer escapes the encounter without needing to make an escape test. Costs 4 HP. Well, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty good, because I am also unsure. Let me just note this down. I'm unsure actually of what I'm going to be doing in terms of a quest and what level. There are some quests that tell me I need to be at level 10, and I guess I'm kind of like at level 5-ish here. It's a little unclear when building an adventure. Maybe if anyone's watching and they can tell me what level they come in at if they do the quick build, I would be curious to know that. The other point is I have given myself right here this beast to be a familiar. Now, I have yet to do the test to see if he will actually come with me, but I chose him off of the available options. So we'll do that next. Actually, I'm going to have to clean up what I spent here. And the next thing I'm going to do is see whether Bucket the Boar, who was chosen for me by one of my kids, wants to come with us. I can tame him. And unfortunately, boars don't really like to be tamed that much, so you get a -5 to your intelligence roll, which is the test to tame. So I got to get a 50 or less to get this guy to come with me, and great. So Bucket the Boar will be with us. He has attack. Let's see what he has. Attack, mighty, and stun. And attack is at the start of the combat round. At the start of the combat round, deal 4 HP of damage to the monster. Okay. The adventurer gains +10 on their strong skill for their next test. That's mighty and stun. The monster does not get to escape or attack during the next combat round. Well, that's pretty good. So we've got Bucket the Boar with us, and I think that is what we've got. I don't think I collected enough things to do any attempt at Witchery. Let's go back and look at those rules. Witchery I can't do because that's requiring me to collect parts from monsters, and doing the quick start doesn't give you any combat track, which is actually kind of interesting. Maybe it should, because that way you could maybe attempt to do some witchery. However, I can't do that. And the last thing to point out is that I wanted to attempt to get the Artisan skill, but that's going to cost me, seems like it's going to cost me 22,000 gold to buy the, to train, and then 200 gold to get the equipment to do it. So I should be on the lookout for gold and selling things. I definitely don't have that now to sell, so I'm not going to be able to do that. So I think my main mission goal right now is to get some spells and some money. These are the things that I'm most interested in, or, in general, things I can sell back. I don't, as I said, I'm not carrying a whole bunch of stuff, and some of it's damaged, but that's going to be my goal, because I want to be able to, I want to be an artisan, and ultimately also, when with my magic, I've decided I do want to train in that and become I would like to learn the order of psyche spells. I think this is what I have decided I want, but that's pretty far away. I'm just not there yet. So let's choose a quest. I've decided not to go on a random quest because I know that I need spells and money. So I've gone to this Lost Grimoire quest, which is from the Adventurer's Companion, and it's got potential of 1,500 gold with 1 reputation. It has a +5 encounter modifier, and if I fail, well, it's a pretty significant failure of -10 skill. A roaming wizard recounted a story a few nights ago in your local tavern that a number of years ago he lost a book of spells in a dungeon he was exploring near the Bridge of the North, and would pay dearly to have it returned to him some day. With nothing better to do, you set off for the dungeon at first light. We are meant to enter the dungeon, collect 4 spells in our spell book. Any 2 objective items can be used as 1 spell for the purpose of completing this quest, and we can remove any 2 objective items from the adventure sheet and roll on table S spells and add the result to our spell book. So this is the overall quest that we're going to be embarking on today. We're ready to go, and we have the 2 spells that our Astromaya Wood is carrying. This is Astromaya, and she now has her Bucket the Boar with her. We're going to be choosing the tile from the d100 mapping game, and then referencing the book, and then ultimately finding a tile from one of these tiles to make our map. At least that's my thought process right now. But before we do that, we're going to just do a couple of rolls here in the Classic Dungeon Design Guide to give us a little bit of atmosphere, not too much. The first thing I want to do is, I don't want to just plop us into an environment. I want to give some type of overall foundation, structure, history a little bit to the dungeon, and I'm going to do that by rolling twice on this table of 52. We get 52 is, a monastery. Okay, can't see that, but that's what that is. And the book suggests you roll twice if you can, and 89 is a tower. So we are under the tower of some type of monastery, and being a druid, we'll have to find the connection there. The other thing I want to do is roll on this dungeon theme table. We have an 85 here. That might be a reroll. Let's see. It is, and I'll say in this book there are some tables that aren't actually D100 tables, and then they cause you to reroll, which that always disappoints me slightly, because you know, make it some other type of table if it can't quite get to 100. All right, a theme here of a labyrinth, and again that's going to be a reroll. That's not going to be a reroll. An urban undercity. So urban undercity, labyrinth, tower, monastery. What this says to me is that the labyrinth suggests mystery. The urban undercity and the monastery, this is traveling to an area that has been overrun and left for decay, and we are going into this monastery to recover some spells. Perhaps this was more of a mage tower then a monastery to recover some spells, to get some treasure that was left behind. Maybe it was left in a hurry. We don't know who it was overrun by. And I don't have a good a dungeon entrance right now. Maybe when you come back to another segment, you'll see that something better is here. But let's see. As we enter this dungeon, it is lit by oil lamps, so there's still some remnants of the original inhabitants there that allow for the entrance to be lit, which makes sense actually with the stairs going in. And we'll just look and see a little bit what the air quality is like in here. And it's hazy, so perhaps the oil lamps have been recently extinguished. Perhaps people left not too far before we have arrived. There's a slight downdraft, suggesting that maybe there's an open area underneath that is drawing us to the exploration, and there is just a little bit of organic life beginning to grow. There's some moss here, and so they left a while ago, but not too long ago. And are we smelling anything in the air? Are we smelling anything? Well, there's a little mildew. So there was some water. Definitely there, it had been inhabited, and we're beginning to see this is a transition period between the life of this place and now filling it with death. And we have, in addition to that, we're hearing we heard a slamming door. Maybe there is somebody or something down there who is hearing us and then just leaving. And let's see. I did a roll, but I'm not sure what I was rolling on. Now, we could be also rolling on this temple area here, but we're really going to our other sources here to suggest what the rooms are. But let's just give that a roll and see what we get up with, what we come up to. A ritual hall. So per this, we would be entering a ritual hall, and in fact, I could work backward from that to find a tile here that would suggest a ritual hall. I'm pretty sure there is one. And what I was able to do first was find this is a pretty good entry tile here, and stairs going down here. So we will replace them. We'll have them in their waiting area here, but this will be the entry level. And then we're going to search through these tiles to find a ritual hall, maybe something like this. This will be the ritual hall, and then working further back, we have to go back up, as it were, up to the d100 tiles to find something here that would be suggestive of a ritual hall to get us back to the original. Well, that's cool, but not quite what we might want to get us back to the original mapping. Well, now that could be a ritual hall for sure. That looks like a ritual hall to me. There's probably more, but we'll just go with, oh, that's cool. All right, we got two. We got two possibilities here. We'll stick with that so as not to make this too crazy. And these are going to be 86 or 46, and we will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to see where we go. 1. So we're going to be on 86 of this map here, and it is going to be a red room with a door, and we see here the door is there, and it's got some kind of a pool. And then the last bit of setup is we're going to place a door here. So I've got these doors kind of randomly in here, and I'm going to, I want to see it. It's meant to be a surprise, so I'm going to, there we go, try to pull it up without seeing it. So we'll place the door there, and we will bring our adventurers now into sort of reposition here as we get really closer inside the dungeon. They're walking in here. This is really meant to be the entryway here. and they're about to walk into the first room, which is the ritual room. It has one door here. It's open on the other side where they walk in, and we will set up, reset up, and come back with the investigation that ensues. I'm going to be marking the time on this time tracker here. We will obviously keep track of this on the character sheet down below. And here we are. We have Astromaya Wood and Bucket the Boar entering this ritual room and starting to look around and explore. Before we actually do that, there's one more thing I want to talk about in this game. And this is perhaps the part of the existing system that I wish could be developed more. And that is to say, things beyond very basic dungeon crawling with combat and basic exploration. We saw how we developed this story here. We have Astromaya Wood and Bucket the Boar. They are trying to enter a guild of psychic magic. This, or Astromaya is really. She's going on a quest because she wants to get more spells to be able to do that, and she also wants to become an artisan to start to create her own objects out of the world. The specific quest she's on is to obtain spells and treasure that was left behind as the mages who inhabited this tower left in a hurry. Evidence does suggest that the tower has not been totally vacant for too long. It is a place of transition, moving from life to decay, from magic to, well, we don't know, something else. Now, in following strictly the rules that are available right now in D100 Dungeon, we don't have a lot of capacity for other types of role-playing to take place, for other of these skills to be used beyond mostly basic combat. This is a listing of the skills that characters in D100 have and what they're meant to be used for. But I think with further development and expansion of the rules, we could have ways, for example, of using awareness, or there may be different skills needed, but awareness or bravery to some extent to develop these environments even more. Now, I know in material that the designer has released, there are, in essence, there's campaigns and in essence like choose your own adventure kinds of things where the environments are developed for you through pre-existing narrative. But my secret wish is that there would be more of a role-playing rule set provided to allow for this to be run either with a GM or, of course, in my case, with a solo, because it does seem like it's almost there as a blueprint for doing that. I don't know the extent to which I'm going to bring that into this playthrough, but I wanted to mention this as an aside. I have mentioned this before, probably in almost all the videos I've done on here. So for me, the development of this little bit more of a story is something that I would like to have played out, or like to be able to be played out a little bit in the environment as we travel through it. And in the interest of time, I will skip through and tell you that we did encounter a vampire leech in this room. We ultimately defeated it. We had took some damage a little bit, and when we got our trophy for it, it came up, we got a scarce tooth. So we rolled high and it was a scarce item. We got to add 200 gold to what we found, which was lucky because we found a tooth. So maybe that vampire had taken just a few too many bites and lost a tooth in the process. And now we're going to pull back, and I'll just show you, we haven't rolled on the find table yet, which we'll do. We're going to go to the new find table from the Lost Tome and see whatever else may be here. And I hope it's something that we don't have to deal too much with. 21. Whilst searching around, a piece of equipment gets caught in a crevice of the dungeon wall. The adventurer carefully prizes it free, but has suffered some damage. Roll 1d10 for location until an item is rolled, and shade in 2 pips on a damage track. Well, that stinks. All right, so we lost some time there, which we will mark. Not much really happened. We're going to end up with damage here on some items, so I will take care of that by giving a roll with my d10 and come to the combat table we need here for the location of something. 8 is going to be our waist item. I think we do have a waist item. We do. We have a padded belt. Well, luckily that's not damaged at all. And so here we are at the door, and we want to see what kind of door it is and then proceed through it. If it's open, we'll just be able to walk. If it's not open, we will attempt to open it. And it is a level 1 trap door. We're going to use the door rules to say that we could either bash it open if we had a relevant weapon, but we don't, or we could use a spell. And in this case, the only spell that we have that's going to inflict damage is a summoning spell. So we will need to summon a creature, and per the rules, we get a benefit on the casting attempt. Well, we didn't need that. We rolled a 28, so we're going to be able to cast this spell, and we're going to summon a creature, and with the summoning for this, we are going to have a... So let's give it a roll on our encounter table E with a -30 modifier to see who we summon. That's 54. Can't see that, sorry. 54, and that is going to be a goblin, 24. A goblin is going to come in and attempt, we're going by this rule, this table, we're going to summon a goblin with an attack value of 25 to attempt this door. Now, per the, going back here, as I think I read this, when we're making a test against it, we're going to get a +10 bonus, so we'll be getting a hit on a 35 for the goblin. Let's reposition here so you can see the rolls. And we rolled, wow, we rolled a 1. Awesome. Well, that goblin definitely is going to make a hit on that door. And I don't know, it's a question. Do I get to mark some experience for that because I rolled for a summoned creature on my strength, I guess, or something? All right, I'll think about that. I may, but more to the point, we're going to be doing some damage on the door. So now we can roll for the damage that we're going to be doing. We will get our damage die and our location die going. And stick this back up here. We got 2 damage, location 6, which is going to be the main weapon, no modifier. So we only did 2 damage for that. So we will mark our progress again, reminding ourselves that it is a trap. We need a total of, it's got a numeric, it's 12. So we've just made a slight progress, and we'll mark that down. And now we need to roll a d10 to see if a wandering monster has heard us. We would be heard, and it has. What bad luck. So the rule is that you roll to see if you've been heard, and if you get the number of attempts you've made or less, you've been heard. Well, we one attempt, we rolled a 1, we got heard. Now there's a wandering monster. We didn't even get started. The goblin vanishes, of course, because he's not going to stick around right now to help us. I took a 4 HP hit on that spell, and we basically got nowhere fast. All right, let's see who's showing up. We got, remember, our -5 encounter modifier, 84. That's going to be a 79. A zombie master, great. A zombie master is showing up with some disease. We get a table roll if we TA table +10. All right, we got to set up to deal with this zombie guy. We'll start by rolling on, find out what the monster's reaction is here. We got a 6, so that is a normal attack. And I think we'll just attempt a normal, I think we're going to use a spell here. We're going to just do a normal attack with our long sword here, and that was a successful attack. And now we will roll for damage on that. 1 and a 1. It's going to be the head. Ooh, hit to the head, 1 to the head. That's going to be 4. So this zombie master has 16 health, as we said. So he's just down now to 12. All right, well, eventually we were able to dispense with that zombie. We took some damage with some of our equipment here. We deflected some, we took some directly and we deflected some to our beast, but we dispense with the zombie. The problem is this door is still only partially damaged and leaving us not really sure if we should continue there or just abandon that and go somewhere else. In the interest of time, I have moved ahead to the end of the quest. The quest has been completed now. We've picked up actually one extra spell than we needed, and I think this was the last one we got, Resurrection. This to me is a good candidate to sell because I tend to never use this spell when I have it. The cost is too great, and just the way that I play, I just don't really need this. And we picked up Open Magic, a healing spell, Knowledge, a counter to Dark Magic. This is a great spell. I think this was the first one we picked up, and we had Invisibility and Summon. So that was great. The quest ended pretty quickly because we ended up with a couple of objective rooms here that enabled us to roll on the spell table to complete our part of the quest. And as you recall, it says that we can, for any two objective items, we can use those as one spell. And we got these two objective rooms, so that was pretty good. And then there was another situation where I can't remember, but randomly a spell came up. So we lucked out pretty good here. We did not, on our own, I don't think we will end up with, even with the 1,500 gold that we're going to get, we're looking for 2,200 in cash, for 2,200 in gold to bring to train as an artisan, and I'm not sure that we're going to quite make it, although if we sell that spell, we may. We also have a marking here. I'd like to do some witchery, which we'll do between quests. I want to show that rule to try to make something out of this, the scarce tooth that we got from the vampire, and we got kind of useless stuff, but we can use it now to try to make a potion. So we have a giant snake, quote unquote, paw. It was a paw or hand, but it was a giant snake, and some bone lizard blood. So we're certainly not going to sell that. That's worthless. And this scarce tooth, we're definitely going to put into a mix to try to create something there. We ended up with, we just, we found some items. We found a fairly badly damaged padded mail belt, which is something we actually already have. So I doubt I'll attempt to fix that. I'll probably just try to sell it. I'm really trying to get together as much gold as I can to train. And let's see, the other part of my sheet I wanted to show you. This, there's the combat track. That's not terribly interesting. And yes, we ended up with, we're down to 3 HP at this point. I had some of my armor take some more damage, not really that much. It was, the combat here for this one went pretty quickly, and we chose to buff up our magic by 5 when we passed that possibility on the combat track. So that's kind of a summary of where things ended. Whoops. And now we're going to take a look at our between quest action. All right. We got our 1,500 gold for completing the quest. We're going to sell Resurrection for 800 gold. So that's certainly going to give us enough to train as we wish. We also have, well, I'll probably do this off camera because I think what I've decided is that I'm going to keep this character going, so I will continue doing a few things with her. I'm going to fix up some things as I can, like my padded mail belt at the least, and my sword for sure. That's actually going to cost me, that's going to cost a bunch, 212 to fix. And then I think we'll probably, it's pretty much damaged, 70 gold. All right, well, let's see where we are here. And because we also got, actually, we found 100 gold in a room. Let's just see where we are straight up with the gold. We found 100 gold in a room, and we have the 1,500 from the quest completion and the 800 from selling the spell. So that's bringing us to 2,400 gold just flat out, you know, cash, as it were, liquid. All right. I want to train, whoops, I want to train with the artisan. The following rules have been designed to provide a way for adventurers to craft items from salvaged and bought materials. Before any salvaging and crafting can take place, the adventurer must have some starter knowledge of how to be an artisan. Therefore, at any time during the Before Your Next Quest phase, which is the phase we're in right now, we may seek out training from a master artisan and gather the necessary crafting and salvaging equipment from the Artisan's Guild. To train with a master costs the adventurer 2,000 gold, and to buy the equipment is 200. As soon as both have been paid, the adventurer may begin using the Artisan Sheet and can use all the following rules. All right, so we're going to pay this, and we're going to be left with the 200 gold pieces, and we haven't even dealt with selling anything that we might have, because we may want to use this to craft things. Here is the Artisan Sheet, and you are instructed. I haven't done this before, so this definitely should not be any kind of rules tutorial, and please correct me in the comments if/when I make a mistake. But it says that I start my value, my artisan characteristic has an experience track and a starting value of 40. So I will put that down right there, 40. That seems pretty clear. And can be raised as high as 80. My crafting skill begins at 0 and can go up to 20. So I add this. I've unlocked the sheet because I paid for the training. And now what I need to do, it says that I need to see whether the items that I have found could potentially be salvaged. I checked off camera, and indeed some of the items I found can be salvaged, namely the 2 leather girdles and the padded mail belt. They're salvageable materials. So I think what I need to do is to make a test for each of them to see whether I can successfully salvage it. And the test is pretty simple, just rolling on that, and I got to get a 40 or less is basically the bottom line. So let's see, we got a 10, or rather an 18. So I guess I didn't really state what that was for, but let's say that's for the first leather girdle, then an attempt on that one. And then we will make our attempt, a 9. Now I think I get to mark if a natural 10 or less is rolled. Indeed, adventurer has learned something, and I can shade in 1 pip on the artisan experience track or 2 on the salvage skills track. All right, I guess I'll go for the crafting skill is the next bit of it, because once you salvage it, then you have to try to craft it. Well, you know what? Let's do 2 on the crafting, because we just salvaged 2 things. Let's give us two crafting skills there, or 2 crafting experience there, rather. And so we've salvaged both leather girdles, and now the last thing we have is this padded mail belt, and we did not, so we can't use that. That's off. So we look here, we look up the leather, so we basically were able to just salvage both of these leather girdles, and we don't have any upgraded materials. So the leather girdle has 4 wood/bone. I guess we put that in here. See, this is a little confusing to me how we indicate this. So that would be 8, right? Because we've got 2 of them. And it has 6 leather hide. So that's going to go here as a 12. And it has no iron. I think those are the materials that we got from this salvage attempt, and then we're instructed to remove these items, of course, from the backpack, because we've salvaged them. So we've broken them down into their parts. They're now gone from here, and now we can attempt to craft them. So we go to table XB. I'm not sure I have enough to craft anything. All right, so crafting. So for example, we have the material. Let's just focus in here a little bit. It looks like, apologize for the glare, I don't usually film at this time of day. We have 8 wood bone splinters, and we have 12 of leather hide. Now, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm a little confused here about the lesser and the full material. Maybe I'm a little confused here. So I'll try to work this out and put a note up. But for right now, as of filming, I'm just going to say I've got 8 wood bone and 12 leather hide. So I could potentially try to craft some boots, a cap. This looks to be a gauntlets I could try to do. Another girdle, well, that's what I broke down. So basically what I would want to do is look and see. I mean, none of this is so great. And probably per actually playing this game, I wouldn't try to do anything. I would save that up to get something better. But I'm not wearing I don't have anything on my head, for example. Now, a leather cap doesn't really offer too much, but we'll refer back and just see what the leather cap actually does offer. It doesn't really offer any protection. You could sell it for some gold. And what was the other choice here of a possibility? Could do, well, the leather boots, probably the same thing. I mean, I just don't have a lot of great stuff here. Again, just sell that for some gold. That's not really worth it. The girdle is what we started out with. So the fact is, I actually would not do any crafting right now. I'm just going to save this for building it up so that I can make something better. And I do need to clarify with myself and ultimately for you guys what this is in terms of entering the materials in here like this. And also what the scraps are. I think scraps are other things that you pick up. In any case, we did craft, we got rid of the girdles, we're collecting materials, we have the Artisan Skill right now. And the last thing we're going to do here between quests is from the Adventurer's Companion, we are going to attempt some Witchery. And briefly, Witchery allows you to attempt to create special potions and anointments from parts that you have looted. It does have a special note that if you have a rare or scarce part, it doesn't give any benefit, and that's kind of a bummer because we're going to be using a scarce tooth for that, which we could have sold for 212 gold, but nevertheless we're going to use the giant snake paw and the bone lizard blood and this tooth, putting it into a pot and stirring it up and seeing if we can effectively create something out of it. This is a great rule because otherwise you end up with a whole bunch of stuff that you're selling for like 15 gold or whatever, and it doesn't really make too much of a difference. Wow, we rolled a 6. Awesome. So we're going to get some benefit there too on our intelligence. We were at a 65 intelligence, and we're going to get to mark that up. So that's pretty cool. And more to the point, our scarce tooth, our giant snake paw, and our bone lizard blood will be erased from this sheet, and we will roll on the table to see what they create. Now, of course, it might create something we don't necessarily really want, but let's hope for the best. What I was saying is we're going to roll on table 0 of the Witchery, and then we're going to note down our formula. We will be able to use it again, and that's when we'll get a benefit from the scarce parts. We'll get a plus 15, and then we'll have plus 5 from the normal ones. All right. Hoping for a good one. 75, that sounds like it could be pretty decent. We have stirred up a potion of learning. Oh, roll for a random skill. Asterisk, whatever rolls. All right. It says roll for a random skill and note its experience star is considered shaded. Whichever result rolled during the learning of this formula will always be the effect of the formula will produce, and you do not roll for an effect each time you use the learned formula. So I guess what we get to do with this is we roll for a random skill, and then we're going to get to shade that. It's a little honestly, this is a little confusing. Whichever result is rolled during the learning will always be the effect. Do you roll and then you just get to shade it? That doesn't really make sense. You do not roll for an effect each time you use learn formula. Well, in any case, let's just do the random roll and see we're going to get to shade something for sure. I'm just a little unclear on what happens next. 2, aware. Well, aware is already shaded, so we're going to roll again. Well, I kept rolling on things that I had, but in the end, we got to shade locks because that had been unshaded, and I'll have to clarify exactly what this is, but the point is we made something with the Witchery skill. Now, the next thing I want to do is attempt to advance into a an area of magic. But in order to do that, I have to pass that death test. And I'm starting here at 3 health because of the damage I took. I can heal for 20 gold each, 1 health point. So my 200 gold here is going to go toward increasing my health up to 13. And I really feel that I should be starting that at 20. So what I'm going to do off camera is do the calculations to sell some of these damaged items to get I can probably sell just this one item here to get the necessary gold to buy back to full health. So here we are at the test of death. So we must prove our worth to the council by successfully casting 5 individual spells from our spellbook one at a time. Each spell must be different, and if a spell is cast unsuccessfully, it must be recast until it has been cast successfully. When all 5 spells have been successfully cast, the test is over and the adventure has been accepted. During the test, the adventurer is only allowed to use up to 3 equipped belt items. Well, unfortunately, I reviewed what I have, and there's nothing I have in my belt that will help me here with the casting. So that is what it is. And there's no turning back. Once you have started, you must continue to try or die in the effort. Now, I'm guessing so here are my spells. Now the thing is, it's a little unclear because I have more spells than I can use, and I don't know, am I going to get these casting bonuses to them? Do I need to cast only the ones that I can use? Because for example, the healing spell, I wouldn't want to choose. I would want to choose open magic instead, because that only costs 1 HP. So I'm a little confused from their spell book, but can I move things around in my spell book? Well, what I want to cast is, I want to cast invisibility, summon, counter, knowledge, and open magic, because these are the ones with the least casting cost. I think this is for a 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, that's only a 2. So that's just 13 HP to cast all of these successfully. I did bring myself back up to 20, and I don't know if I can move these around or what. So I'm going to say that I can. I'm going to say that I can manipulate this as I choose, and I'm going to start casting them. And to do so, again, tons of clarifications, errors, notes. This could be completely wrong, but this is what I'm deciding. What I'm deciding is that on 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm going to run down the spells here, giving myself the applicable bonuses that I would get, but I'm going to choose the order of the 5 spells, and I'm going to start with invisibility, it being the hardest one. I'm going to get a plus 20 bonus on that, reminding ourselves that my rolling against a base of 65, so 75, 85 is what we get here, so that's 40. So that has been successfully cast. I've lost 4 HP. Next we go to summon. It's another 4 HP loss with a modifier of 15. And again, successfully cast even without the modifier, so maybe it's doesn't really matter. Now we're going to go to counter. That is in the spot that it is here. That's a modifier of a plus 10. And we failed. All right, we failed that. So we are going to attempt it again. Now we've got 8, 10. We're down to 10 health at this point. We got to try to cast counter again. And we definitely do. So that we lost 12 HP at this point in those efforts, but we still have 8 HP to go. And now we're going to try to cast knowledge. We still get a plus 5 modifier on that. Nice roll there. That's cast. And then finally, just with 1 HP, casting magic. And that is successfully done. So we have, at the cost of 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 health. We are down to 4 health at this point, but we have become an advanced caster, and we can enter the area of, I think I decide, psychic magic, and that is what we now have been able to do. So I will enter this into my adventure sheet for the next time that I play this game. I will come back with her having this benefit. And that is a look inside some of the new rules that I've used here with D100 Dungeon. One thing I want to say about the beast is that I didn't actually end up using the beast I got the beast to come with me. I didn't actually end up using him. The rules on the beasts are that you may only use him, the abilities can only be used a number of times equal to its level during a quest, during an entire quest. So beast with level 3 would only provide the use of its abilities 3 times. I had a level 1 beast. I never needed to use him, but that's just something to note because I may have been a little unclear about that in my mind before when I talked about it earlier. To end the video now, just with further brief comments on all of these rules and all of what they offer. They are really developing this game and along the lines of allowing your adventurer, your character to become much more full-bodied and interact with the environment in different kinds of ways. Where I hope it goes next is to do a little bit more with the combat because for me, even from the beginning, but especially now with the development of these other rules, the combat is feeling a little lackluster and just like rolling, rolling, rolling. There's nothing tactical about it. There's no way of, well, there's combat experience now, which is great, but you have to do so many combats to get that experience, and the experience is typically just avoiding one or more of the special skills that the enemy has, which is great, but I would love to see a way of developing as a certain type of warrior, for example, to be able to utilize certain tactical skills or somehow rolling up in the environment to create almost like a battle mat with some terrain, or I don't really know. I mean, there's tons of ways to go with it. That to me is where the game is now lacking based on whatever else and the other things that have been so wonderfully built up and developed up for it, some of which I tried to show you here.